This video is a tutorial on averaging cells in Microsoft Excel using the functions average, AverageA, AverageIf, and AverageIfs. The average function calculates the mean of a range of numbers. The AverageA function calculates the mean of a range of values, not necessarily just numbers. The AverageIf function calculates the average of a range of numbers, but filters out certain numbers that meet a certain criteria. And the AverageIfs calculates the average of a range of numbers, but filters out based on multiple criteria. Our first function, the average function, takes multiple numerical inputs and calculates the mean of those inputs. While it can take individual numbers, its best use is with ranges of data. On the left here, I have an example of a shop. This shop sells multiple different types of products. Imagine a scenario in which I needed to know the average sales per item that has sold at least one item. I could do this by averaging up the quantity column. So I'll do that now using the average function. So I'll set the function up now, equals average, and then our data range is going to be the quantity column, in this case D2 through D12. It's highlighted that for us. If I return on that, it gives us a value of 18.66, so on and so forth. Now, I'm sure you can imagine that the average function is a very useful function that sees quite a lot of use. Because of this, Microsoft Excel has a shortcut for it. If we select the range of data that we wish to average, we'll see an icon appear in the bottom right. Selecting that brings up the Quick Analysis menu. If you navigate to the Totals tab, you'll see a selection of functions, one of which is the average function. If you click on that, it then calculates that average at the bottom of the range of data that we selected. So that's a quick and easy shortcut for averaging a range of data. The next function we are going to look at is the AverageA function. This is very similar to the average function, except rather than just take numbers as inputs, the AverageA function will take any data as inputs, be it strings, Boolean, or whatever. I'll set up my AverageA function now, AverageA, and for my input data range, I'll use the same range as I did before, so D2 through to D12. Returning on that gives us a value of 14 rather than 8.6 recurring. Reason being, the AverageA function is including these dashes and interpreting them to have a value of 0. So our average is now calculated as being all 8 of these values added together and divided by 8, so we get a reduced total of 14. The third function I have for us to look at is the AverageIf function. Like before, this calculates the average of a number of inputs, but it also allows us to filter out certain inputs based on a criteria of our choosing. I'll set up our AverageIf function now, so AverageIf. Taking a look at it, we can see we have 3 inputs. The range, this is the range of data which we're going to apply our criteria to. The criteria, this is where we're going to determine what our filter is going to look like. And the average range, this is the range which is going to be averaged, assuming our criteria in the first 2 inputs is met. Bringing it back to our shop example, let's say I work in the electronics department, and because of that, I'm not interested in all of the products store-wide, but just averaging the products in the electronics department. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a filter to my average function to filter out everything that is not in the electronics department. The range that we want to apply our criteria to is going to be the A column, so A2 through A12. And we're going to be filtering on anything that is not in the electronic category. So I'll just put electronic in here. And our range that we're going to be averaging is going to be the quantity column again, so D2 through to D12. Returning on that gives us a value of 12. Reason being, it's taken everything from the electronic category. This is not a number, so like the average function, it filters it out, unlike the AverageA function, which would have included it. It gives us these 2 values, 18 plus 6 is 24, divided by 2 gives us 12. So the AverageIf function has allowed us to filter based on category, but what happens if we also want to filter based on quantity, so 2 criteria? The AverageIf function can't allow us to do that. What we need is the AverageIfs function, because this allows us to filter based on multiple criteria. If we take a look at our AverageIfs function, what you may notice is that there are 3 inputs as before, but the average range is now on the left rather than on the right. And on the right, we have ... meaning we can add additional inputs. So here we have criteria range 1 and criteria 1. You'll see these are now paired together. If I wanted to, I could add additional pairs. So criteria range 2, criteria 2, 3, 4, and so on. So I'll start with my quantity column as my range to be averaged. So D2 through D12 again. And I'll apply the same filter that I did before to determine whether or not the product is electronic. So I'm going to be searching on A2 through A12, and my criteria once again is going to be electronic. If I return on that, it gives us a value of 12 as we had before, because we effectively created the exact same function using two separate functions. What I'll do now is apply my second pair of criteria. So in this case, we're filtering on the quantity column, so D2 through D12. And I'm going to be filtering, let's filter out anything that doesn't have a value greater than 10. So greater than 10. Returning on that, it gives us a value of 18, because batteries is the only product of the electronic category that has a value greater than 10. That's all for this tutorial on averaging in Excel. I hope this was useful for you. I'll leave links to further resources on all the functions covered down in the description below. There's going to be a kind of a follow-up video to this where we go over the median and mode function, because these average functions have calculated the mean, but there are also additional ways of calculating averages. So that will be the next video, is median and mode functions. Thanks everyone for watching.